My clients have made over $50 million in ad revenue last year, and I audit around 100 accounts every single year. And I'm going to explain to you how to actually do a Google Ads audit properly, and if you only had like 10 or 20 minutes, what to look for in the account. Now, the first thing is to check competitive metrics, and I'll show you where to find it. But basically, it tells you whether or not you're losing auctions because your budget is too low. It tells you if your ads suck, so if they're not relevant enough, the landing page isn't relevant enough, etc., and you're losing ad rank, which is where you're positioned on the actual search results. And also it tells you how much of the pie is left in the marketplace, how many auctions are there available to like bid on, and how many you're getting versus your competitors. So if you go into any account here, and let's say that you go to the campaign level and then click on the columns area here, click on the pencil icon, and then see the competitive metrics. So you just click that to expand it. And then there are a few interesting metrics here. Now, you don't have to only look at the ones that I'm showing you, but I'll quickly explain what these mean. Search impression share just means how many impressions that you're getting versus what you could be getting. You know, how many auctions are you entering into versus how many you could be entering into. The other ones you'll want to look at is your search lost IS due to rank. So whether or not you're losing auctions because your rank is bad. You've got your budget. So that simply means how many auctions you're losing because your budget is too low. And then you've got these other ones called top IS and absolute top IS. The top IS simply means the top 3 or 4 ads at the very top of the search engine results, whereas the absolute or ABS, absolute, simply means the first position. And then you've got click share, which is quite important because that tells you how much of the pie that you've got in the whole marketplace for the keywords that you're bidding on, right? So click on that, click apply, and then here you'll scroll to the right side until you see these ones that you've just toggled. You might want to rearrange these, go in the columns and actually just rearrange them just for your sake, just so they're close together. And you might want to see the search impression share up here and then click apply, and then you can see these back to back. So we've got search impressions. We're getting 32% of the search impressions. We're eligible for 100. So we've got a little bit of a gap there that we need to fix. We've got search lost IS due to budget. So we're losing 22% of auctions, which is around 2 out of 10 times because our budget's too low. That's not too bad. Usually try to aim for under 40% if you can. Under 30% is fine. Anything above that, it's probably a red flag. You're probably paying too little. And we'll skip over this one here. So it's telling us that we're losing 4 out of 10 auctions roughly because our rank is low. So that simply means that we need to fix our search terms. We need to fix our ads, like the copy on them to be more relevant. We're going to fix our landing page experience, and that way that we can bring this a little bit lower. If you can get it under 30%, then that's great. So aim for about 30%. And then you've got click share. Now, click share is relative to the ad group. So this number will actually change the more you drill down into each of your ad groups. So for some ad groups, you might be at 40%. Other ad groups, you might be at 5%. So it's all relative to those actual things. So you might want to actually drill down further. But basically, if you got 20%, it's not that bad. Like that's actually pretty good in some markets. Whereas 10% is also considered good in some financial markets and things like that. So it depends how competitive the marketplace actually is. If you can get it way more than 18%, you can get it to 20 to 30 to 40%. That is amazing. So try to aim for above that if you can. But that's the first check that I do just to get a quick health check on how the campaigns are actually doing. So I know whether or not the ads need fixing, the budget's too low, I need to investigate the keywords, or, you know, if there's a lot of market share or market pie available and I'm not getting enough, then I might need to investigate improving all those things. The second thing is checking your conversion goals. Now, the reason you've got to check this is if you're feeding the algorithm the incorrect conversions, so for example, you're feeding it page views or subscribers or newsletter downloads or click to direction stuff, then you're feeding the algorithm the wrong kind of information and it's not going to get you good customers. The whole point of conversion tracking is to feed the algorithm little metrics on what a good person looks like a good customer. And if you can keep giving it that data and saying, hey, we made a sale, and feed that data over to Google Ads, it's going to try to find you more of those kind of people. I don't want to be feeding the wrong data to Google. And the second thing is you want to use something like What Converts. You might have seen me talk about this online before, but What Converts is basically a conversion tracking tool. What's cool about it is you can feed the conversion value, you know, the value of a contract, or maybe you just had a booking come through and you want to feed Google Ads that you made $400 off that sale, $300. This is one of the only ways to actually do it. And so once you've got that, you can feed Google the actual conversion value. And this ties into finding good customers, because if you can tell Google that you value customers who spend more than $400 with you and you want to keep finding more of those kind of people, then you need to feed it conversion value so you can keep repeating that same process and improving all of your campaigns. That's why it's very important. So where do you actually find your conversion goals? Well, you go to the goals area here, you go into the conversions, click on the summary, and then scroll down and you can see some of the goals. So we'll expand these accordions here to have a look at the actual goals. Now we've got this primary here, and this is very, very important because primary binary means that it's training the algorithm, and you're likely using most of these in your actual campaigns as the goal. And the more goals that you have, you're likely dividing Google's attention into all sorts of different areas to optimize for. And if they're conflicting goals, then you're training Google on the wrong data. You're not going to find repetitive customers coming through. So if you want more good quality leads coming through and you want Google to be trained on what a good lead is, you likely want to have one lead conversion goal, not multiple. So this one has multiple, so you get rid of that, you get rid of that. You'd probably keep the what converts one, so we've got what converts leads here. You just keep that one and keep that one going. So you've only got one metric for all of your leads coming through, and you can train the algorithm based on that. Exact same with phone calls. Now, sometimes with Google Ads, you got the calls from ads conversion source, and there's nothing you can do about that. Sometimes you've just got to leave that as is and keep one of them, but you get rid of any duplicate ones that you're definitely not going to be using. Now, if you've got other goals in here like page views and directions and subscribers and stuff, or mailing list submissions and things like that, and you don't have a clear purpose for your Google Ads, I recommend you either delete it or switch it to a secondary. Now, the reason you'd switch it to a secondary, so we'll click on this one here, for example, and then you click on the action optimization and you've got the secondary. Now, the reason you would do this is so that you can still have a look at what kind of conversions you're getting through from these signals, but they're not training the algorithm in finding more people like this, right? So it's useful if you want to see it in your conversion reports, but most of the case, you don't even need to see it on the Google Ads side of things. You can just see that kind of data inside of what converts anyway and set it up in there instead. It's totally up to you what you want to do. It depends what your goals are, really. Everyone's kind of different. Now, the easiest way to see whether or not your campaigns are tracking certain conversions is simply go into your campaign level at the all campaigns view. If you don't know how to get there, you just click on all campaigns just up here. And then here you've got this little segment area. So click on segment, click on conversions, and then conversion action. And then you'll see these pop up down here. So these are all the conversions we're tracking. We're getting the counts for each of these types of conversions. We've got calls from ads, which is the like Google Ads call extensions and things like that. And we've got what converts calls, which is the calls on the actual website. Then you've got what converts leads, which is the leads that are coming through lead submissions. And what converts can actually track your transactions as well. You don't have to call it WC leads. That's just what we do at JRR Marketing, but that's also how to see your conversion goals. Now, the third thing is to check your keywords and your search terms reports, because 90% of agencies actually get this wrong because they don't split their themes of ads correctly. What I mean by that is, let's say that you're a dentist, right? And you sell Invisalign, you sell clear aligners and clear retainers. Now, you as a dentist know these basically mean the exact same thing. There's no difference. But in terms of Google Ads, you're meant to split these into separate ad groups so that you're increasing your quality scores, you're increasing your ad rank, and you're increasing the likelihood that you get discounts on your ads depending if you're running search campaigns versus Performance Max. Now, let's say that you've got Invisalign. Invisalign would need to have its own ad group. It would need to have dedicated ad copy all around Invisalign near me, etc. The keywords that you have for that would have to be like Invisalign near me, Invisalign Melbourne, Invisalign blah blah blah, like location parameters. And then the landing page would need to be Invisalign near me, etc. Right? So it's all following one theme. It's Invisalign, 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 Invisalign all the way down the funnel. You don't put any clear aligner keywords in the Invisalign one. You don't put any clear retainers ones in the Invisalign one, so that you're increasing the likelihood and the relevancy of that. So if I'm trying to look for Invisalign and I type in Invisalign near me in the search bar, I see an ad and it says number one Invisalign in Melbourne or whatever, and I live in Melbourne, I'm likely to click that. So I click on it, and then first thing I see on the page, the H1 tag and the headlines like get Invisalign and blah blah blah, like it's highly relevant to what I click on. Google's going to see that and they're going to reward me top spots because I'm, as an advertiser, I'm following all the rules. I'm being as relevant as possible. And you would do the same thing for clear aligners, its own ad group, its own keywords around clear aligners near me, etc. And you do the same for clear retainers. It's that simple. Okay. So when you're looking at different campaigns, even these guys sell gates. So they've got a different ad group for motorized gates. They've got a different ad group for automatic gate installer, different ad group for automatic driveway gate, and then security gate installers, etc. So they're following different themes. Now, what's different here is they've got security gates like inquiry, like those shouldn't be there. Gate company can be there, but not different overlapping themes. You can't have these overlapping each other bidding on the same stuff. If you've got one theme, stick to it. Okay. Now, it does get a little bit complex, and I'm not going to dig into that because I've got other videos on how to actually choose the keywords that you're trying to go for, but you get the idea. And inside of this, you would have all the keywords around motorized gates, etc. There shouldn't be any broad match in here. That's a big no-no. If we go into the actual ads themselves, we should see one ad here, and it's all about motorized gates in here. And then this one here is actually meant to go to a landing page for motorized gates, right? Not automatic driveway gates. I think they did that on purpose for a reason. But yeah, that's what I would do there. Now, Now, the other thing I've got to mention is to check your search terms reports, and you've got to do this 2 to 3 times per week. So the way to do that is to go into the ad account, go into the ad group level, and then you're going to click on the ad group of your choice. You can see the search keywords by default. So we'll open this menu here and then go to Insights and Reports, search terms, and then these are the actual auctions we're entering into. So there's about 70 here over the last 7 days. So this number will actually change depending on the date range that you've got. So if we got the last 30 days or the last 90 days, we'll see a different number of keywords here that you've got to go through. Now, the whole idea here is you have a look at the keyword that's triggering the actual auction. This is the auction. You're entering into an auction for electricians Port Melbourne. So someone typing that into the search bar. The idea here is you'd want to add a bunch of different keywords here if you're making money from it. So you just filter it to conversion rate first or conversions. You have a look at which ones are actually making you money. You then decide whether or not you want to add those as exact match keywords. You can also look at your conversion value. If you're feeding the algorithm conversion value, then you start adding it from there. But you might want to add some other stuff here and also exclude keywords. So for example, I might see this is outside of my target area, or this is a gas company, makes no sense, or this one doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. So you start adding these as exact negative keywords. So you start adding a bunch of them as exact negatives. Number 4 is to actually improve your ad copy, because most people don't use keyword insertion or location insertion. And these are very quick wins to improve your ad rank, so you show up higher on the search results. Now, the easiest way to do this is to go into any one of your responsive search ads. If we're talking about Performance Max ad, you can follow similar principles, but you can't actually use dynamic keyword insertion in Performance Max or dynamic location insertion. You're going to have to hard code it or hard type it in. But let's just talk about the responsive search ad. With responsive search ad, the quickest win is using pinning, using dynamic keyword insertion and dynamic location insertion. So I'll explain why you do these. Normally, you're looking at an ad like this and you keep using this arrow to see what it actually looks like for real people. This is what they see. Crafted for strength and style makes no sense to say as the first heading. What is this? What am I looking at? It should say probably number 1, motorized gates in blah, blah, blah. So the first thing that I'm typing into Google shows up on the ad straight away, so I'm likely to click on it. So that's where pinning comes in. So if we find that crafted one and we switch that to a number 3 because it's not even relevant, and we go back over to here, we shouldn't be able to see it any longer because it's no longer a pinning one. We're seeing just motorized gate company, etc. So it's just the keyword showing up as the first one. That's why we use these pinnings. So we can dictate, 1, the permutations that Google serves, so you're not letting the robots destroy your budget. And the second is to improve your ad rank, so you show up higher on the search engine results page and more people start clicking on your ads. Now, I mentioned dynamic keyword insertion, so I'll explain what this is quickly. So how to use it, you basically use the left curly bracket and you'll see keyword insertion. You click on that and it says default text. That's basically if the keyword you're bidding on in the search keywords area is too long, then you need a fallback text. So you could say like motorized gate company, and you do it as title case because all of your ads should be in title case anyway to follow suit. You could have #1 in front of it if you wanted to, or be clever with your numbers, something else, or you don't have to have any numbers. It's totally up to you. Now let's say that you did that and that's how you add it. And then you've got dynamic location insertion, which takes the IP address of the person. It dynamically inserts the city, state, or country of where that person actually is, just in case that the city or state or country that that person is in is way too long for the actual ad copy to fit in this little slot. It will just fall back to Sacramento, so it just fits into that slot. Now it's better because it will serve the IP address of where that person is, like it has here, and it will dynamically add wherever they are right now. So it's likely that I would click on it if it's got my suburb or state or zip code in there, you know. And as you can imagine, if you do all these things and you start adding numbers psychology and power words and stuff, you'll start to increase your click-through rate, start to increase the number of conversions coming through. Now, the other thing I want to mention is site links and extensions and assets. With all of your ads, if you scroll to the bottom, you've got like your business logo, you've got business name. I encourage you add these because they improve your expected ad click-through rate, which is another metric that improves your ad rank. So if you can fill these out, that's amazing. Even if you do a partial match to your actual business name, but if your exact match doesn't look nice, then you could probably do a partial match on rolling garage doors, for example, and that would be a partial match and likely to get approved. Then you've got your site links down here. So site links are very important because they improve your ad click-through rate or your expected ad click-through rate, which will improve your ad rank. And if you go into your assets, I've got other tutorials on these as well. For your structured snippets, you've got your call outs, you've got your call assets, which is another one. If you're e-commerce, you've got prices and stuff like that. You could add promotions if you want. Got other tutorials on how to do those, but those are very, very important as well. One final thing I'll mention on this one is to try dynamic search ads ads versus responsive ads, and try performance max even if it hasn't worked for you before. So dynamic search ads, basically you go into your ad groups level and then you can create a new ad, and then you just say in this one here, and you switch it from standard to dynamic. It's very, very easy. It's one of the easiest campaigns you can ever set up. So you switch it to there and you go continue, and then you can start to create dynamic search ads and point them to specific pages on your website, and then start running ads side by side your responsive search ads and see what wins, because sometimes it does a better job than a responsive search ads. And so I recommend you do that with every single campaign that you run, and also your performance max campaigns as well. Run one of those for each kind of vertical or product that you have, or main service category, for example, and you'll be surprised that sometimes it actually works, even though it doesn't work for other services or product categories, etc. Number 5, and the final one I want to leave you with, is improving your landing pages. If you don't have a landing page for Invisalign yet you're running Invisalign ads and you're just sending people to a homepage, you're making a mistake, because then you're going to get penalized because your ads just aren't relevant enough to the terms that you're bidding on. Now, the other thing is to make sure that your H1 tag on the page uses the main keyword that you're trying to go for. So if we go to this page of mine, I've got the H1 tag here for Google Ads Consultant, and if I open up the metadata, I've got the title as Google Ads Consultant, and I've got the description as Google Ads Consultant. I've got only one H1 tag, and you can see that here as the H1 tag there. If you don't have this extension, by the way, highly recommend SEO Pro extension by Marketing Syrup, and that way that the ads bot can crawl your page, understand what it's actually contextually about, and then it can understand whether or not it awards you more relevance factors. Now, that's not the only thing. You obviously have to make sure the landing page is really fast. It looks amazing on mobile, so you check it on mobile as well. The other thing is you've got to make sure that you've got an FAQ section on the page, and you start to inject other keywords for like Surfer SEO or Neuron Writer, or the keywords that you're bidding on from your ads into the actual FAQ section. So if we go to the FAQs and you bid on like Google Ads Consultant up there, semantically related to that might be Google Ads Specialist, and I might add the word Google Ads Specialist in here somewhere, and I might be bidding on that on my ad as well. Now, these are the 5 things that I check with every ad account. It doesn't matter what it is if I'm short on time. These are the 5 things I look for every single time, and rinse and repeat. They will bring you the most results, like the quickest wins. You'll be able to find whether or not you've got the wrong keywords, you haven't got the right structures, you've got bad quality scores. These tell you everything you need to know, about 90% of what you need to know for your Google ads, and whether or not you need to manage them better. I hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions, leave them below. More than happy to answer, and I'll see you in the next video.